AAA games nowadays like to play it safe and go with one of two aesthetics: photorealistic graphics or the more homogeneous Fortnite aesthetic. It's within the indie space where we get games like Post-Trauma that aren't afraid to emulate the style of classic PS1 games. Post-Trauma is rather proud of legacy survival horror games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil 1, opting for fixed camera angles and slow-paced methodical gameplay. We'll go over all the ways this indie horror title captures the magic of classic survival horror games. Here are 15 things you need to know before you buy Post-Trauma. Unreal Engine 5 graphics in classic PS1 horror style. A game using Unreal Engine 5 nowadays isn't particularly unique in and of itself, but when it's done in Post-Trauma's old school style, that's pretty different. Despite being made an indie developer, Post-Trauma utilizes UE5 to good effect, portraying dynamic lighting and high quality textures through the dreamlike environments. And on top of that, Post-Trauma does a number of things to harken back to its PS1 survival horror inspiration. Most notable among its classical devices is Post-Trauma's fixed camera angle. Fixed camera angles. Who doesn't like a good camera angle in their horror game? Post-Trauma ditches the modern over-the-shoulder camera featured in titles like Dead Space and the like, of course, for a fixed camera angle that changes for every new room and environment. We've seen a host of interesting angles from trailers, so it's evident that the team is injecting good variety to spice up Post-Trauma's presentation. Cramped inventory management. Another hallmark of classic survival horror games is tight inventory management, which Post-Trauma certainly has. In fact, you'll be limited to a scant 5 item slots, not counting the 10 separate slots for key items, in addition to the storage chest. By comparison, Resident Evil 1 had 6 item slots, but unlike RE1, items won't take up more than 1 slot in Post-Trauma, but you can still combine items. Limited save system. As expected, you cannot just save the game anywhere at any time. There are dedicated save rooms that you have to rely on to save your file, just like classic survival horror titles. We can only hope these save rooms are evenly spaced apart and don't require a ton of backtracking. Classic RE-style puzzles. But that still doesn't cover the full pot of classic elements that Post-Trauma is made of. A majority of the experience is spent exploring the mind-bending environments, and you know what that means, of course? Yeah, lots of puzzles. Post-Trauma emphasizes exploration through its puzzle design, as demonstrated by the number combination padlock in the train requiring the player to search for number clues along different walls and windows. Another legacy puzzle type that Post-Trauma features is the classic mannequin/statue positioning puzzle. This game seems to be ticking all the classic survival horror boxes, doesn't it? Debut project for Red Soul Games. What's impressive is that Post-Trauma is the first title Red Soul Games has worked on as a company. Everything from the clever variety of fixed camera angles to the otherworldly tone and atmosphere seems derived from an industry veteran, but this is their first public game actually. Red Soul Games is a super small studio located in Spain, with Raw Fury, known for Sable and Cassette Beasts, acting as their publisher for this game. Psychological themes revolving around the main character. You take on the role of Roman, a middle-aged train conductor who finds himself engulfed in a bizarre nightmare after a panic attack. The story goes heavy into psychological themes, implying that some of the horrors within the shifting environment are actually manifestations of Roman's tormented mind. Event Horizon, anyone? Maybe. The game features plenty of narration, with Togo Igawa playing Roman along with Autumn Ivy and Huey O'Grady playing the rest of the fully voiced cast. Monster design takes a cue from Dead Space and The Thing. The main cast aren't the only voices heard in post-trauma though, since you'll have plenty of monstrous abominations to contend with. The monster design grabbed my attention the most out of any single aspect. Pulsating tentacles adorn the ceilings, while grafted heads on mutated enemy bodies comprise some of the enemies exemplifying post-trauma's body horror. To compound the variety of monster designs are some interesting alien-looking monstrosities, as well as robotic antagonists that is seen strangling Roman in the teaser. Doesn't shy away from blood and gore, very much earning its M rating. Unsurprisingly, the combination of gruesome monster designs and unsettling environments warrants a strong M rating. Walls are commonly stained with blood, and as previously mentioned, monsters tend to be on the grotesque side, with grafted body parts and gore covering their misshapen bodies. Those pining for a survival horror game that doesn't play it safe will be delighted with post-trauma's gritty presentation. Slow-paced and light on combat like classic Silent Hill games. Facilitating all that blood and gore is the combat of post-trauma. Don't expect frequent fights like Dead Space here, though fights are few and far between, similar to Silent Hill. Most of your time is spent exploring the ever-shifting environments and solving puzzles to move forward. Combat is on the simple side, consisting of repetitive attack and dodge mechanics. But when there is combat, it tends to be pretty basic. As seen from the trailers, the character Roman just has one swing attack and a basic dodge when fighting melee. Swing, dodge seems to be the winning strategy for most basic fights, leading to a lot of repetition. By contrast, ranged gun combat was only briefly shown in the teaser, so we have little to actually speculate on in that regard. At any rate, we're hoping the full release adds some more weight and variety to the game's melee combat. Some combat encounters are unavoidable. The biggest reason I'm nitpicking melee combat is because some encounters are required to advance past closed paths. The spider abomination fight in the trailer cut to a brief cutscene indicating that the webs blocking the way forward were eliminated along with the spider. While it's almost certain that a majority of encounters are avoidable, at least some are required to advance forward in post-trauma. Reality-bending environmental design reminiscent of The Evil Within. The instance with the spiderweb seemingly disappearing after emerging victorious isn't a one-off. Many paths are blocked off by apparitions and other otherworldly forces. The environments in post-trauma shift like a surreal nightmare, so players can expect a good amount of variety and surprise within the locations of the game. Clever shifts in camera style, shifting from grainy CCTV imaging to clear 4K depending on context. Of course, framing all the distorted locations in post-trauma are the fixed camera angles, which do vary in style. Some areas brim with clear 4K UE5 detail, while others are overlaid with CCTV compression and resolution, as is the case with the spider mutant enemy encounter. It'll be interesting to see all the ways the camera shifts and distorts throughout the game's duration. Creepy sound design meant to confound and spook players. Sound is paramount in any good survival horror game, and it seems post-trauma is fulfilling on that front. You're constantly hearing suspicious ambient noises as you explore the game's environment. Distant echoes of objects dropping or footsteps can be heard as you explore, and there's always some amount of white noise present in the ambient sound. Post-Trauma's soundtrack is done by popular music cover artist Nicholas Gasparini. It's clear from trailers that the indie team making Post-Trauma have a good sense of subtle and creepy audio design, taking a cue from classic survival horror titles. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.